Good evening, everybody. As one of my, thank you for all attending this evening. As one of my few remaining last few acts as Chair of Finance, I'm going to get a few things squared away as we move on. So we're going to begin this meeting and start. Welcome, everybody. It is Thursday, April 22nd, 2021. City Council Committee on Finance. We're going to call this meeting to order. May I please have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Chairman Igliosi.
Present.
Vice Chairwoman Ryan.
Present.
Councilwoman Castillo. Absent. Councilwoman Anthony.
Present.
Councilman Taylor. Absent. We have 3 present, 2 absent. We have a quorum.
You have the same problem with them. 1 second.
I'm on mute.
We can hold on for a second, everybody. We have a technical difficulty. We're going to stand at ease. We're back on, I believe. You're back on, Mr. Clerk?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you all. We're back on the record again. Let the record, we have a quorum. Also let the record reflect that Councilman Taylor is present.
So noted.
All right. And let the record reflect that President Pro Tem Espinal is present.
So noted.
And we have, I think, Larry Mancini. Councilwoman Anthony has her hand up. Councilwoman Anthony?
Thank you so much, Mr. Council President. I was just wondering if you will be remaining in the chair of finance. I was just surprised when I saw the notice that you were still sitting in this chair. I mean, as council president, according to the Roberts rules, you're an ex officio member of every single committee. So I know it's not the spirit of the rules to be a member and an ex officio member. So I'm just wondering what your plan is.
Well, as you know, I've been trying to set up we're doing a little segue here very quickly. I was setting up sidebar meetings with all the council members, as you know. We're trying to I want to clear up some of the docket that's in the finance committee, and then we're going to mosey on, and then I'll be leaving the chair of finance in a very short time. Just trying to get a few things squared away, which were unresolved. Unfortunately, the presidency, everything happened right in the middle of a couple of things that were left out, but we're going to be moving forward with me relinquishing the chair and the seat on the finance committee in an extremely near future. This is just about clearing the deck, that's all, okay?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you knew that. I didn't get a chance, so I apologize. That's all. Okay?
No worries.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, and I just, I did also, the President Pro Tem, I kept him informed on that process too. I think he can let you know. We've been keeping him, we've been working together, trying to do this transition, trying to make it as smooth as possible. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect, the Internal Audit is present and the Treasurer and also Chief of Staff, okay? With that, so as part of this process of clearing up the past dockets and the stuff that got that we got away from us over the little time. So, Madam Clerk, can we begin the? Can I have a motion to take items, waive the readings of items 1 and 12? Right, is that right? 1 through 12, and I guess, and then at the appropriate time to continue indefinitely, and then internal audit, Gina Costa will explain each item of why that would be the case. So could I have a
motion to take up items 1 through 12 and to continue indefinitely.
Second.
Second? Got Councilman Taylor. Okay, discussion. Internal audit, can you go through the list as part of the process of clearing the decks for the next chairperson, and of course the next person will be sitting in the finance committee? I thought it was important, I thought it was very, to be responsible enough to, basically clear the decks so that, make it easier when the committee meets in the near future and receives the new budget, and then it'll have a new chairperson, a new member of the committee, and they can start fresh, from the ground moving forward, as we know that's happening real soon, with the mayor doing his budget address next Tuesday. And we're gonna have a special council meeting on the following Thursday, so we can receive it and send it to the finance committee. So we're just trying to set the finance committee up for success, and make it transition as smooth as possible, so they don't have to worry about some unresolved issues.
Okay.
The internal audit, could you explain? Why don't you just go to stop for one and go through?
That one, and go through, and then if anyone has any questions after each one, I'll be happy to answer the questions. Number one was an ordinance that, put the threshold for the school department at $25,000, and it maintained the city at $5,000 for any purchases to the Board of Contract and Supply. We have no control over the school department at this time, so there is really no need to move forward with this. And when we do maintain control of the school department, if this is to come back and reintroduce, that's fine. That's why, it's my opinion that this can be continued indefinitely.
Okay. Want to go to any questions? Item number 2?
Item number 2 is the issue of tax anticipation notes, or TANs. This came through the committee, in the council, during the peak of COVID, when we were, unsure if we were going to meet our budget. So this was a tool that we could have used to achieve our budget. At this point, we have, met our budget. There are no issues, We are pretty good with the budget, and there's no need for the TAN at this time. So this also should be continued indefinitely, in my opinion.
Also, let the record reflect that Councilwoman Miller was present, too. Next item, please.
The next item is similar to the above. It was authorizing the administration to use our undesignated general fund surplus or rainy day fund for the purposes of debt services, and anything that we had to pay indicates that we did not meet our budget. But again, budget projections are good, so there is no need for this at this time.
Questions? Next item.
Next item is abating the taxes on 213 Massachusetts Avenue. This item has been resolved. They did abate the taxes, and they are completely up to date, and according to the assessor, my apologies, this is all resolved at the assessor level.
Next item.
Sorry, I got some of that question. This is from former council member, Councilman Zuria. This actually had a deadline of 12/31/19. Therefore, it has expired, so just to clean it up, I'm recommending continuation for indefinite.
Okay. Next item.
This was...
Councilman Anthony.
Yes, I guess my question is, on this particular one, it's still pertinent. I'm just wondering if it's possible to amend it to a different date, different target date. Seems to me that this is still all true.
I don't disagree with you, Councilwoman. The pension has come down to 7%. That was one of the recommendations in this resolution. When I say down to 7%, the rate of return has been down to 7%. That has been implemented, and I do believe there is another ordinance currently in committee for the overall pension. So I don't think that the idea of looking at the pension has gone away. There is still something else in committee that has opened for the pension. So I don't think that anyone on this call right now would think that the pension is not a priority.
I appreciate that. I'm specifically looking at the provision that says that the city council resolves to work with the administration and stakeholders to develop a detailed, realistic, sustainable plan to manage its pension obligations. I mean, I don't think there's anything more important than that. So I'm glad to hear that we'll be entertaining that in another manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Anthony. Next item.
This is a resolution to hire a tax consultant for a large tax treaty / stabilization that did not occur. Again, this has expired as well. Again, we should just continue this indefinitely.
Thank you. Next item.
Number 7 is the issuance of a tax anticipation note. Again, this is the same item, similar to the item as number 2. We have no need for tax anticipation notes at this time.
Councilman Anthony?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I forgot to put my hand down. So sorry. No question.
No problem. Next item.
Number 8, this resolution has been resolved at the assessor level. They did go back 3 years for this property. Taxes are paid in full, and the homestead exemption was permitted.
Next item, item number 9.
Number 9, this vendor withdrew their award with the city, so it can be continued indefinitely.
Okay. Next item, please.
Number 10 is a previous fiscal year for the law department and who they were using. It can be continued indefinitely.
Number 11.
Number 11 is another attorney that the city used. They were just amending the above, and again, that was previous fiscal year, so that can be continued indefinitely.
Number 12.
Number 12 is the first student contract. The school department has opted to use their own procurement rules in accordance with state law, so the city has no authority over this contract, so it can be continued indefinitely.
Okay. Any other, by the explanation of the internal auditor, by the way, I want to thank her for going through this and preparing this document. Any other comments, questions? Councilman Anthony, you have a question? Oh, excuse me,
Yes.
Councilman, then Mr. Mancini, Councilman Anthony.
I just would like to recuse myself on number 10, even though we're continuing it indefinitely. Thank you.
Okay, great. Madam Clerk, can you make a note of that, that when I do call for the vote, that Councilwoman Anthony has recused herself from item number 10. Is that right, Councilman Anthony?
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Mr. Mancini?
Sir, may I be sworn in?
Oh, yes, please. Mr. Clerk?
Would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do. Lawrence J. Mancini, Chief Financial Officer for the City of Providence. Mr. Chairman, first and foremost, may I just take a moment of personal pride to extend congratulations to you and Council Pro Tem Espinal. This is the first time I had a chance to congratulate you publicly, and it's been a pleasure to working with all of you. And I herald you, Mr. Chairman, in your capacity as the leader of the Finance Committee. The administration has appeared regularly for the committee, and we've been given every opportunity to present our information. On the matters that were discussed this evening on items 1 to 12, we have worked with your internal auditor. We're pleased to tell you that we have no objection, and we join with her in asking that they all be treated as a continued indefinite. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini. Let the record reflect that Kenny Shiverini, our solicitor, is present. Do we have it on Councilwoman Ryan? Majority Leader Ryan, I'm sorry, Majority Leader Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to take this opportunity as well to comment on the TANs that were on the agenda that we're moving to continue indefinitely. I just want to point out the hard work that often goes unrecognized. I think our auditor did a fine job in explaining that it was intended to be a tool. They were presented for consideration way back at the beginning of the past budget that we just passed when we were unsure of what our financial well-being would be. Our financial condition was a big question, as we all know. It was back then that we moved to a month-to-month basis and we're basically operating in the dark. Very scared, very unsure of the future of the city's finances, and very disappointed, quite honestly, that it was a horrific pandemic that hit us, but a lot of hard work had gone into putting the city's short-term finances on good, sound footing. This TAN was put forth as a tool, a sound financial management practice to be used if needed. Back then, we were unsure on what our finances were going to be or going to look like. We mentioned that. The state implemented the work share program that we took advantage of to keep our employees safe first and foremost, but also to provide some relief to our labor cost. And also, something that happened was we received far more tax revenue from our food industry, food tax revenue than we anticipated. So for those reasons and others, we didn't have to pull the trigger and borrow additional money to fund the operation of the city. And, you know, we were also unsure of what our tax revenue would be like. So there was a lot going on. Good, sound financial planning and practice was employed. And right now it is quite a relief that we're continuing the TAN indefinitely because we don't need it. And that's kudos, much credit to the finance team for the city. Sarah, Larry, Chief Mancini, as well as the city council finance team that kept their eye on the ball on a month-to-month basis to get us through a very difficult year. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Do we have any other comments or questions? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And just make a note that Councilman Anthony has recused himself from item number 10.
Thank you.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
An ordinance and amendment of Chapter 2020-15, number 145, approved May 13, 2020, in accordance with Chapter 21, Section 9 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Providence, entitled Capital Equipment Budget as amended.
Internal order, do you want to?
Yes. This is just an amendment to the original, was just identifying what miscellaneous was for, and it was for the software for Govern, which is the software utilized by the city collector and inspections and standards. So all it is just identifying what the miscellaneous was for. There's no financial changes, everything else is the same.
So just so everybody's just to clarify, if you look at just page 1 of the ordinance themselves, you can actually see the word miscellaneous be crossed out, and then it states that they're using the money for various software, in this case Lawson, which is the city's software to run all the financial,
Govern?
I'm sorry, Govern, my apologies. And what is the software used for, I'm sorry?
It's used for the collectors and issuing certificates and inspections. Larry can speak further if you need.
So everything remained the same, everything was spent the same way. This is just making sure the public has full transparency in what that money was used for, correct?
That's correct. And Mr. Chairman, in support of the internal order, it is government is used for the land use based system of the city, tax assessor, tax collector, and inspection and standards. So we do agree with that, and I'm in full support of it.
Great. So we have, I guess, a motion to pass, right?
That is
A
correct.
motion and approve, motion to approve, I guess, right, and forward to the full council. Right?
Is
That
it
was
as
motion?
amended? Motion to pass as a recommend approval as amended? Is that correct?
Yep, as amended, correct,
Yeah.
majority. Yep.
Thank you.
Second.
Majority has appropriate, Council Taylor makes a second. I think Councilman Anthony, do you second also?
Yes.
I think you did, right? Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Next item, Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
Resolution authorizing approval of the following contract extension award by the Board of Contracts and Supplies in accordance with Section 21-26C of the Code of Ordinances, LISC, Policy Office 250,000.
Okay, so what is this about?
So, Madam Auditor, do you prefer to begin, and I'll join you?
Okay,
Wait, is there amended letter, there's something has to be,
yeah, yes.
this has to be added to it?
I referred this to the city council because it was more than 20%. And I do believe that the administration has made a change in the letter because it's actually a change in the contract rather than just a new item, which exceeded 20%. So I believe,
So it looks like I have to do, first of all, it looks like I have to do an amendment, amending this letter with the letter that's inside this package that we're saying here.
That is correct. Mr. Chairman, if I could just give you additional explanation.
Christine, hang on one second. I think I'm gonna have to do the adoption first of the letter. Do you have this letter, Mr. Clerk?
We do, and it has been posted to the portal. However, the portal was not on the agenda, so I can share my screen.
Could you share that with the committee members and the public and the council?
Sure.
Understand what the proposed. It looks like we're changing, like, let me do the switch first. And then Mr. Mancini, I'll give you the mic, okay?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
So it looks like, and if I may, hopefully I'm getting this right, and Mr. Mancini, internal audit, will walk me through this. It looks like we're looking to, on item number 14, there's a letter dated 3/31/2021, signed by Ms. Perdomo, and it looks like we're looking to remove that letter, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And substitute that letter with a new letter, and I guess
That's correct.
new letter dated April 22nd, 2021, signed by Ms. Perdomo and financial approval. I can't read the name. And it's requesting approval of a change order and contract extension with Local Initiative Support Corporation. It says, Dear Mayor Loza, the Mayor's Office respectfully requests approval of a change order in the amount of $350,000 to our contract with LISC, capital letters, for the City of Providence's Early Learning Facilities Project, and a term of one additional year beginning on July 1st, 2021, and ending on June 30th, 2022. The contract was originally awarded on March 30th, 2020, and had an original expiration date of June 30th, 2021, in the amount of $750,000. With this change order, the new contract amount will not exceed $1,100,000. We are seeking an extension because the LISC is currently conducting an awarded facilities, is enhancing the structural and quality standards of those facilities. LISC is making sure that these improvements are aligned with the Department of Human Services guidelines, as well as the Bright Stars quality rating system. Extending the contract will allow LISC to engage more early learning facilities in their process of requesting improvements for their centers. The funds in the amount of $350,000 are available in account 101-000-55980. That letter, and it looks like a contract extension letter checklist, is hereby, I guess, is substituted for the first letter. Do I have a motion to that effect first?
So moved, Mr. President.
Second by Councilman Taylor. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, Mr. Clerk, item number 14 has been substituted with that letter. Mr. Mancini, you have the mic, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the committee. Mr. President, when I was alerted of the matter being referred to committee, it is a Board of Contract item, and the internal auditor is exactly correct. It was referred because it, in fact, was truly a change order of 20%, and that's the reason why it comes before this committee for review. The letter inadvertently requested only an extension, but the correct language, and I fully support the auditor's work on this, is that it is a change order. And I had already intercepted just this day and had advised administration and policy officials that it should be a change order. When I had the opportunity to speak to the internal auditor just a bit earlier, she and I almost immediately agreed that that's the correct way to do it. So I offered the opportunity through her to have them prepare a new letter with the correct wording that called for a change order, which is a change in the original award, because it is the same scope of service by an entity that is well-renowned in this matter and was perhaps the only entity of its type that could do that. And so in addition to the original $750,000, we just recently appropriated in the most recent adopted budget, $350,000 new money for additional work of the same type, but that we would also need additional time frame to complete that work. And that's why we asked for the extension of the contract into the new fiscal year. With that said, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I'm in full support of the substitution letter, and I'm prepared to answer questions associated with the letter and any budgetary appropriation. And I believe we have a policy team member who can speak to the list services, but this matter was originally awarded in the 2020 budget and it was vetted by the Finance Committee and approved by the council at that time for establishment of appropriate, what we call Bright Star quality rating system, pre-K classrooms. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini. Also, just a notification, in item number 14, should the original resolution now say 750,000 versus 350,000?
It should say 1.1 million.
1.1 million.
So we're gonna have to actually amend the actual resolution too. So I'd look to entertain a motion to amend the first page of item number 14, which says 350,000 and change it to
1.1 million.
1.1 million. Do you have a motion?
And hold on, Mr. President, may I ask a question, please?
Of course.
My reading of the letter, it states will not exceed 1.1. So is that not correct?
Madam Leader, I discussed it with the internal auditor. I think we came to the conclusion that it should say not to exceed, because that's the general language that we use in all water contract letters when funding is available. It is in fact 1.1 million exactly.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that response. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Leader.
I'm good.
Do we have a motion to that effect then, to
So moved.
change 3,000 to 1.1 mil?
So moved.
So, second by Councilman Taylor. Discussion, all in favor? Motion. All right. Is there any other comments or questions on this matter? Committee members?
No, Mr. President.
No, thank you.
Can we entertain a motion to recommend approval, item number 14, as amended and as substituted?
So moved.
Motion by Majority Leader, second by Councilman Taylor. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
That's it.
Mr. President, if I may, I just want to commend and extend a thank you to the internal auditor. She was highly cooperative in guiding us through that process today in time enough to get it to this committee meeting. So I appreciate the extra attention. Thank you, Madam Lord. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mancini. That's good, kind words. Do we have the next item, Madam Clerk?
Communication from His Honor the Mayor dated April 6, 2021, informing the honorable members of the City Council that pursuant to Section 302B and 203 of the Providence Colonial Charter of 1980 as amended, she is this day reappointing Jordan Seabury of 100 Canton Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02908, to the Board of Canvassers for a term to expire on the first Monday in March 2027, and respectfully submit the same for your approval.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Seabury, is he here, it looks like?
He is. He has been promoted to panelist, and he is now visible and audible. Mr. Seabury, could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Jordan Alden Seabury, 100 Canton Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02908.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Seabury. Thank you for coming this evening. What I'd like to do is, if you have, why don't you give us a little background on you, or what you've accomplished, I guess, as member of the Board of Canvassers, and why you would like to be reappointed. You have the mic.
Thank you, Mr. President, and members of the committee. It's a pleasure to be here to discuss what has really become a privilege in my life. My background is primarily as a grassroots organizer and as an artist. And when the early conversations with the mayor's team were taking place about this potential role, what excited me most was being able to diversify the pool of poll workers, getting more young folks involved, getting folks more excited about voting and election processes in general. And that was around February of 2020. And since then, this job has become absolutely critical. The elections process, their integrity, the legitimacy that the public sees in them, and the ability to offer even the small payment that poll workers receive through COVID and the intensity of the last year's elections, all of those things have become so much more precious, so much more important. So to be before you now, after all that we've been through, feels like a privilege to be able to have the potential to continue in this role.
Thank you, Mr. Seabury. Well said. Do you have any comments or questions from committee members?
Yes, Mr. President, I would just like to thank,
Vice Chair?
thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Seabury, for your service to the city of Providence. Greatly appreciate it. Also impressed by your enthusiasm. Keep up the good work. Glad to see this reappointment. It's an important role, important to the city, and we're just pleased to have you in that position. And I just want to make a comment, if I can, Mr. President. I don't see the resume, Mr. Seabury's resume, and I'm looking at a small phone. So if it is there, I apologize, but can it be posted on so that the full council has the purview of reviewing it? Okay,
Yes, great.
thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Anthony?
Yes, I'd also like to thank Mr. Seabury for his service and continued service. I particularly like your enthusiasm for getting younger people involved. It's so important, and it looks like you're the person to do that. And also, election integrity. You're absolutely right. That's what it's all about. And thank you so much for your efforts on that, with regard to that.
Thank you.
Motion to recommend approval?
Second.
Motion to recommend, Majority Leader?
Second.
Second. Councilman Taylor, Councilman Anthony, discussion? I just want to say, Mr. Seabury, I'm happy to see that you want to re-up and be part of the Board of Canvassers, and it's great to see I agree with you, your excitement to take that position and to take it serious and give, greater access to voting and trying to get more people motivated to vote, which is a good thing for our democracy. So I want to thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Seabury.
Thank
Next
you.
item, Madam. Should we take them all up at the same time? Motion to take items 16 to 8, waive readings of 6, I guess, no. Motion to take 16, 17, 18 up at the same time and waive the reading?
So moved.
Second.
Yes, second by Councilman Taylor. Discussion? All right, we have 16, 17, 18. Who's going to discuss this, Mr. Mancini or Ms. Silvera? Mr. Mancini.
Mr. President, Chairman, if you will, Ms. Silveria and I have briefed on this previously today with the city collector's office. They were not given a specific invitation to this meeting, therefore unavailable. But I can tell you from our constant interaction with assessor and collector, these are collector certificates. They are distinguishable from assessor certificates, where assessors are primarily to abate value. These are served to abate taxes, and they are separate by 3 different categories as they appear on the docket. In the case of bankruptcies, these are certified bankruptcies, and under federal law, we are prohibited from collecting when a bankrupt estate or bankrupt individual has been adjudicated bankrupt. That's what collector's certificate number 83 represents. Certificate number 84 represents those who have been deceased, and they have been confirmed through records of the city's vital statistics and other independent means. And the city uses that process to confirm. Therefore, these will also be excused under that provision. And certificate number 85 are collections that are beyond 15 years. The city's general rule is 10 years. Even outside collection attorneys find it difficult to collect on anything over 10 years. However, they will remain in active participation, so that if a person walked in and wished to pay on that back tax voluntarily, we have the ability to collect and process and receipt and record that revenue. But as it is, this is a management tool that has been regularly used by the collector's office, regularly subscribed by. Its best practices, and we recommend approval of all 3 certificates. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any comments or questions by committee members?
No, Mr. President. Motion to recommend approval.
Or a second?
Second.
Second.
By Councilman Anthony and Councilman Taylor. Discussion, it's in order. Do you have anything you want to say on these matters? Okay. With that, all in favor? Oh,
Aye.
excuse me, hold on, one second. Sorry,
No, I'm not
Councilman Taylor?
discussing that. No, go forward before we end,
Okay.
that's all.
No, I'm sorry. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay.
All opposed? Next, Councilman Taylor, you have the mic, sir?
Yes, I'd like to ask the CFO a couple questions, if he doesn't mind.
Not at all.
One is, any success on the temporary workers, a list? No?
Council, we had the HR director in the meeting last that we had that opportunity. I think because we didn't know that he was on the line as an attendee, and therefore he was prepared to testify, and he has that testimony also in written fashion. Again, he was not invited to this meeting. I would ask to respectfully request permission to allow him to do that and have him directly write to the city clerk, or in this case, the finance committee, and submit that testimony to the clerk on behalf of the committee.
So, Mr. President / Chairman, is it possible to have him come to the next finance meeting?
I'll be more than happy to do that. Madam, make a note of that? Great. We'll do that.
Second thing is, Mr. CFO, on the homestead info, how are we making up of getting the list to the council of the remaining people that have not put in for the homestead, since we're getting very close to the end here? I know we were promised, I think, in March, but I haven't seen anything yet. I don't know if anybody else has seen anything. But
Yeah, so councilmen and members of the committee, the assessor and the assessor's staff have worked diligently to compile the list through the March 15th deadline. Just last week, as an additional resource and accommodation, postcards were sent out to yet the remaining approximately 10% of the entire deck. I think we have almost a 90% compliance ratio as of that March 15th and thereafter date. And as they work through this day, tomorrow, and the weekend to make the final changes to the tax levy that will be submitted with the mayor's budget address next Tuesday, it is our clear intention to share with the internal order, on behalf of the council members, the exact list that you received previously, now scrubbed to within 90% or better, I think, of compliance, leaving a very small amount unattended. And we may find in that process, Councilman, that there just are some that fell off because they no longer qualify or for whatever reason. But I continue to pledge to the council that we will provide that list to the council. And as we move through the budget deliberation process, the rest of these next 2 months or so, we will continue to permit certification upon filing to the office, and we will continue to allow abatement after the bills, when they do go out, ideally in time for the July collection, right through the typical abatement period of October 15th or October 24th. So we are still working steadfastly in that regard. And yes, we will provide the council with an identical list by ward of any remaining taxpayers who have yet to comply.
do we have a time frame of when we would see that?
I would ask that the council give me the consideration of getting through to the budget completion. We have precious few days left to complete the budget cycle, and this is typical and customary of the work that finance does prior to a budget submission. Once we clear the mayor's budget address, I think we would have a little more time where we can step back and check in with our associates in the assessor's office. And I think simultaneously they can prepare that final draft of what went into the levy submission. And then everybody will have a copy of that. But I think it's close to 90% as I speak to you today. And we will work with your constituents, all taxpayers, to get those who qualify for certification. We'll get them certified. We have pledged that early on, and we'll continue to do that. I'm actually quite pleased that we're actually at 90% compliance at this juncture. I think we can get it closer to perhaps 95, but we'll continue to work with that. Which, by the way, at 90%, that means approximately 2,000 or less taxpayers have yet to step forward. And we've used all of the means that we had available to us, particularly electronic submission and the handwritten manual in-person submission in the office. So the assessor is pleased with that result, and I too stand with that work. So.
Okay, I guess my question would be, Mr. Chairman, at some point, I don't know if it'll be next meeting or could we bring them in and actually hear it from them? I mean, I'm not doubting you, Mr. CFO, but like how I want you want to have Emmanuel come and testify about the how many people working temporarily. I'd like to hear it from, and I know you're telling me the truth, but I'd like to hear it from them and see when we're going to get, because I don't want to have, and I believe my council members speaking for them, they don't want to get the list June 15th, and we got to try to scramble and get a
No.
hold of 500.
I would speak for the assessor today, Councilman. I would speak today and say we could have it as early as the submission date of the budget, but with everything going on in final preparations, I would not want to take that opportunity out of the assessor's hands to make sure that they've done every last check and balance before we submit the submitted budget with the submitted levy, and then immediately thereafter, they'll be made available. But I have no objection to having her invited to the meeting to give testimony.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other further comments or questions?
No,
Thank
sir.
you for participating. I guess, do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a second? Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you all. Be well and be safe.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council, Madam Auditor.
Thank you all.